Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. We are doing Sub70 again, but this time it's a new driver, a new pro driver.
Absolutely. We done the fairway wood in the hybrid.
Yes, with a set of irons quite a while ago.
Yeah, but probably a year ago or so.
It has
maybe even
been
a little more than that.
Yeah, and I think we've basically just always focused on the irons, and the iron set was kind of how we got introduced to them. Really good price point, obviously.
Yeah.
I believe the 699, the hollow body model, is where we started.
Yep.
Really good prices, and we've got tons of people in the chat and in the comments, probably in the last few months, saying, we've heard about this new driver coming out, are you guys going to test it? And Sub70 was good enough to send us the new driver and kind of custom fit for you with a little Ventus Blue too. Yeah,
good of them to send the upgrade. I mean, it is, like you say, a 299 driver off the shelf US.
Off the shelf. Yep, so you can get it for $299 with the Riptide or the Hazardous Smoke Black.
Right.
So pretty good deal for $299, and then obviously if you add the Ventus, it goes up to $549.
Yeah. Which is then back in line with the kind of baseline of the, call it the bigger brands. You know, that's you're back in line with more of the kind of Mizuno and those guys at that point.
Fair enough. You can get an AV raw for $100.
Yeah, you spotted that little rascal in there. And
yeah, I think that's a good, that might be the sneaky deal. So that for $399 could be
good
quite
value.
But anyway, this has been spec for you because that's a shaft that you play with a fair amount. I know you got a Ventus Black in your current driver, but something you're familiar with.
Yep. No, I mean, again, it makes a huge difference to us when we're testing. When we do get shafts that we're familiar with, there's no process of going, well, you know, is this the head, is this shaft? We're effectively just testing the head based on we know this shaft works for me.
Absolutely. So the driver is supposed to be directed at a better player such as yourself.
Yeah.
I think they have had products in the past, probably on the more forgiving side or probably the higher spin side. This one's got carbon fiber in the crown. They've put the weight lower. It actually has adjustable weights, which I know you've already played around with. So they're saying it's supposed to be quite a hot flying, low spin driver.
Yep.
450 cc's, which is, I mean, maybe that's just the way they designed it. I don't think it was intended to make it look smaller. It certainly looks like a pretty standard footprint. It's not a small looking driver, I don't think, by any means.
Nope.
But I mean, at that price point, nice to get the adjustability in there. We'll just have to see how effective it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're familiar with that are in there. Like we said, movable weight. So 2 3s and an 11 when we weighed them out in our scale.
Yep.
Obviously, we're going to put the 11 out in the toe. We're going to put the 3 in the back and the heel. A loft sleeve that looks very much, to be honest, very similar to the TaylorMade one.
Yeah.
It's a single axis loft sleeve that has 4 degrees of adjustability on loft. So this 9 is turned down to 7, closer to what I would play it at. So, I mean, I've always said, for me, the loft sleeve that works the best on drivers is the TaylorMade sleeve because it has that adjustability.
True.
The one thing I will say is whether it's the start point, I know in the spec sheet, 1/2 degree open.
Yeah.
It to me, at this point with the loft turned down to 7, is just about getting to square now.
Yeah.
I felt like it was sitting, to be honest, a little shut for me at the start.
And I think you identified it quite well. It's just the way that maybe the toe section of the top line
could be the top line
comes in a bit. So according to the specs, you do have quite an open swing driver, but I agree with you. I think visually it does maybe sit a little bit closed at standard.
Yeah.
And if you need to see something at least sit open, you're going to have to crank it probably to that lowest setting.
I think so. I think that's where you're going to kind of get that nice kind of square look.
Fair enough. Yeah. Looks-wise, otherwise, from the face, it's pretty standard. Shape is pretty nice. I
mean, if you look at it from that standpoint, yeah. I mean, the kind of shape and construction looks as good as anything.
Yeah, the sole plate I think is quite good looking, and the face and everything. I think it's just the address position might not be to everyone's taste. But again, we're talking about something that you're saving probably a good $200-300, and if the performance is there, then maybe you're able to get over just those subtle kind of differences.
Let's put a little range of swings on it. We'll kind of work through. I mean, because most people who are watching this, thinking about this, let's call it the 105 to 110 swing speed range, and then we'll kind of try and see what it's capable of beyond that.
Sounds good. Good swing. Yeah, pretty nice there. Good efficiency. 1.44 is just
pretty
about
good
as
for a little. It was a wee bit thin, but trying to kind of keep it around that 110. Okay, upper part of the head, so definitely lower spin there.
Very low. Yeah, actually, so I think the first strike was about here.
Mm-hmm.
You can really get a knuckly one in that part of the head, can't you? Looks good.
Probably the best strike out of all of them.
That sounded good. How's the feel of it?
Really good.
Feels pretty solid.
It feels really nice.
Yeah, the sound is quite good.
Sound is good. Feels good.
Yep.
I mean, that's a really kind of like just a nice, smooth, like, very minimal effort.
Yeah, really good strike. Obviously, good launch. Spin is on the low side, but not too low. Mm-hmm. In a good window, and you're definitely getting a lot of pop out of it.
Yeah. I'm gonna speed it up a little bit.
It's looking good.
A little more spinny, maybe. Quicker but spinnier.
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, so you got your club head speed up. Still really good efficiency even at that pace. Getting closer to the 170 there, but yeah, you probably spun that just 200 more.
So, I mean, I really like that spin number at that strike point.
That's true, because it's 7 millimeters low, and you're someone that will play usually the lowest loft available.
Yeah.
And you're worried about if I strike it's 6 to 10 low, am I going to get the 2800, 2900 spinner?
Yeah.
That flew nice and flat, didn't it?
That was good. Sure if that came out high heel or something. That was a weird flight.
Yeah, it faded a little bit, but it flew nice, didn't it?
It just came a bit slow.
There's a little bit in the heel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it managed your numbers quite well.
It really did.
You probably just lost the ball speed, a bit of the efficiency.
Yeah.
So that might not be the quickest part of the head there. But in terms of you still hit it over 300 yards. It's a good swing there. Yeah, so that's funny. So it is a little bit in the heel there again.
Yeah.
Really good launch and spin numbers. Again, it isn't the fastest part of the head, but
it's definitely a bit slower in the heel.
Yeah, but it's funny. Usually a lower heel strike, you'd say, will spin up and be a bit of a mess in terms of launch conditions, but it's kept it low.
Managing it good, isn't it?
It ended up being one of your longest drives. That's a good swing there.
Yeah, that did feel like a better swing there, to be honest.
Yeah, that flew really nice. It's nice and centered, slightly low. It's doing quite well.
It's okay, isn't it?
Yeah. It seems like you may want to keep an eye on, a person might want to keep an eye on their strike pattern. If you are someone that hits it in the heel, will it be the fastest driver you try at the demo day? Maybe not. But as far as I can tell, whenever you've struck it either centered or a little bit toey or a little bit low, your efficiency's been about as high as we see with most drivers.
Absolutely.
It's managing the spin pretty well.
Yeah,
that sounded great.
That was the upper part of the head for sure.
You can see how much flatter that's flying. That's going to go for days. Yeah, you flew that 300. Curious how much higher in the head that was.
Yeah, so just a little bit.
It is a pretty low spin driver then, isn't it? So you just barely above center. And it's hard to know whether this is the perfect equator of that actual club based on the stickers, but where you struck it before, about 2,500 spin to there, 1900 spin, and you flew it just about 300 and rolled out, obviously depending on conditions, but that would have been your longest drive of the day. And the efficiency was still pretty good up there.
Still pretty good. Still pretty good.
So it kind of seems like of the direct, I think the direct-to-consumer driver space is a lot tougher, would you agree, than the iron space?
I would. There's definitely...
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't seem as easy to produce something that performs really well.
So, this driver, does it look perfect like a Sim2? Does it look as polished? Is the cosmetics as good? Maybe not. Yeah. I would say it's close, though. It's probably as close as we've seen at this price point to a $299 driver that cosmetically looks pretty good. It does sound quite good.
Sounds good, doesn't it?
It honestly, I'm trying to think of a driver it reminds me of, but it almost kind of sounds like a Callaway driver to me. Right. Most of the shots you've hit. And I think most people like the sound of that. It's got a little bit of the carbon sound. It's a little high pitch, but it's got a good solid kind of hit to it.
Yeah, I can't pick something I don't like about it. Like anything I didn't like about the launch and spin was striking just on me.
And you just moved the strike and it showed you how good it could be.
Yeah, exactly. If it doesn't matter what company's driver I hit, if I was launching at 11 and spinning at 19, flying at 300 and pretty much on a rope, I'd be over the moon.
It's produced some great numbers.
Yeah.
You were 1.44 on most of your good shots, and some of the heel strikes brought that down, but there's certainly nothing wrong with 1.43. So based on that head speed, you got plenty of ball speed. As you said, the launch you probably could get up if you messed around with your strike a bit.
Probably a lot of the strike.
But I think you'd agree this is a good kind of golf course flight. Like 10 launch, 2200 is very playable.
Definitely.
Sure, it comes out a bit lower, spins a bit more, but it stays in the fairway a bit better.
Yeah, I like it.
And you're flying it close to 290 and rolling just over 300, and you'd be awfully happy with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there'd be most companies' drivers, you know, that I would put those swings on would produce those numbers.
Yeah, and I think that's the good thing about this is it's not. I think we've definitely tried direct-to-consumer woods and drivers where we've gone, okay, but I can see why that's quite a bit cheaper. This one, I think probably it's going to be fit and finish and looks mostly. Performance-wise, it's pretty good.
It's right there.
I don't think maybe the outer forgiveness is going to be quite as good. I think the heel strike did show itself to be substantially slower.
Yeah.
But again, unless you're someone who's going to be pissed that you leaked 3 miles an hour ball speed, and a lot of people watching this will go, I could care less.
Couldn't detect it.
I don't even know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Or you're the type of person that's really sensitive to that thing. You might be happy with this for $299. It's a good deal.
Tons of people are going to be pretty happy with this. And the one thing I will say is the people who are looking for the driver who sits a little bit open, they're not going to find it in this one.
No.
You know, even though that spec, it's never going to sit kind of like the way I like it to. But I mean,
they weren't going left on you. I'll tell you that
they
much.
weren't. And the swings were pretty neutral, and maybe there's part of me, like we always say, how the swing reacts to how the club looks and stuff. So, you know, I'm kind of worrying about it going a little bit left. So maybe I'm neutralizing the path a little bit. I mean, that's as neutral as I ever really deliver the driver, one from the inside. So all good. Nothing but positive things to say about it. It's a very good driver.
Just when you were saying about the fact that it didn't really go left on you, it would seem like the heavy weight move of the toe was pretty effective in that case.
It definitely was. There was no fear of that left one. There really wasn't. Now, I wasn't straying toe side as much as I normally do. You know, I would normally stray a little bit more toe side. So, like you said, maybe I was just a little bit kind of concerned about the face not looking as open as I normally am. So I'm kind of holding it a touch. Maybe there was a little bit of that going on, but.
It produced a lot of very straight balls or ones that just faded slightly. Like the ball flight looked great. No,
I mean on the golf course you'd be over the moon with almost all of those.
I agree with that. So I think for the reality is for $299, if you can fit into the Riptide or the Hazardous Smoke Black, that's your best deal, obviously.
Yeah.
That being said, though, if you do fit into something like an AV Raw for $100, you're $399 for a custom driver that we can see performs quite well. I think you're saving yourself $300-400 over the big guys.
Definitely, quite a lot of adjustability in that sleeve.
Yep.
I mean, there's some good loft. Whether it's the face angle adjustability, there is the loft adjustability because you know, looking at that dynamic loft, that last one was 12. The average was 12.
Yeah,
that's quite low for me.
It is quite low. It's
quite low. So, I mean, the loft was definitely down.
Yes.
So. Those who don't want to see that blued in flight, it's got a good option with the amount of adjustability in there as well.
I think those are some of the flatter ball flights I've seen you hit, especially on the low strike. We mentioned in the video, but I think you always say, I hate that low strike that spins up close to 3,000.
Hate it, yeah.
And that's done a great job, and that's kind of what they're saying. For the player that thinks they want to get their flight down a bit, get the spin down, it seems to be quite effective.
Does a good job. No, tipper hat again to the guys at Sub70. They've done a great job
doing a great job, yeah. Good for them. All right, well, let us know if you guys have had a chance. I don't think that it's out quite yet. They're saying it's supposed to be a November release. I could be wrong. But if someone has had a chance, let us know if you've liked it. But I think based on what we've seen today, this is one that I think we often get asked, drivers at this point with a custom shaft, they get to be close to $1,000 a lot of the time. And you may not want a secondhand driver. You may want something new. You want to take the wrapper off and have something, of your own that you bought new. I think this is the same effect that the irons had. It's nice to have a custom fit new golf club that's, 50% of the price. Again, just appealing to this golfer out there, hopefully a golfer that's watching this channel that's come back to the game, recently taken up the game, doesn't really want to commit to throwing the big bucks at it yet. They want to just dip their toe in the water, but they don't want to miss out on technology and shafts and all that sort of stuff. So I just think companies like Sub70, like New Level,
Haywood, those types of companies, they're really in a nice little kind of niche right now.
And I think they're all responsible for making the game a little bit more accessible, which is nice. I think the more we can make the game a little bit less crazy expensive, because there's always people that can save up and afford, that's great.
Definitely.
But it's nice to see that you can get a new club in a price range that's actually realistic.
Very well said.
Awesome. Okay, well that's Sub70. I think honestly we're impressed with that driver overall, but let us know what you guys think and if you're interested in trying it. And we will see you again soon.